Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. How are we all going today? I nearly said good afternoon because it is currently afternoon in Melbourne where I just flew in from. So thank you all for being here in this room with me today. As we said, have we heard? Hopefully you're all in the right room. If you're not, now is your chance to head out to one of the other awesome sessions. But today we're going to be covering off some of the skills that I think are really important for what we're calling the age of AI. You might have also heard this called the future of work. However, I used to call it the future of work about 10 years ago when I started doing these types of talks. But I believe that future is now here. So the future of work is now the new future somewhere else. So we're talking about the current. So we're all here talking about the current today. So if you'd like to follow along socials, if you'd like to post anything on, I'm still going to call it Twitter, right? Post anything on Twitter, Blue Sky, anything like that, feel free to share any of the information today, follow along with me. So I've been doing this for about 10 years, also started my own AI company several years ago before it was cool. So today, what are we going to cover? First of all, we're going to cover this idea of what does it actually mean to work? What is work? A lot of people have this idea of, I need to work. I'm going to lose my job to AI and this whole idea of future of work or age of work. What does that actually mean? We're going to also talk about why it is important for people to actually do work, and we'll come to that too. Talk about the industrial revolutions and how I believe these different industrial revolutions have kind of led us to where we are today, and what we can kind of see from history and some of the things that have already happened throughout those revolutions that we're seeing today as well. We'll talk about artificial intelligence, definitions, some applications. I'm also going to ask you all in the room some of the things that you've been using, so please feel free to engage and interact with the session. This is an interesting one. Some of you in the room might have come today because you're worried about some of the things that AI is maybe going to take away from you. So we are going to address some of the fears and concerns and also touch on ethics of AI as well. We won't be able to dive really deep into it. We could probably do a whole week if you'd like on ethics, but we'll touch on it. We'll talk about this idea of working with AI and why I think it's actually important. And then we'll come to the very important, some of the skills that you need, or that I believe that we need to be able to thrive in this new age of work, and how to actually get them and cultivate those as well. So first off, what is work? From the dictionary definition, work is something we do as a sustained effort to produce a desired result or effect. We do something so we get something out of it. Now, way back when, I'm talking way back when, we used to work in order to have food for ourselves and our families, our communities. We even made our own clothes and we worked the land. So work was something we needed to do to survive, to get the things that we needed to survive. Now, over the years, as people, and because we're kind of a little bit smart sometimes, we've made that kind of work easier for ourselves. So here we're starting to use horse-drawn carts, and we make it even easier in the end by creating machinery to help do the jobs for us. So today, we don't all need to go and make our own food, although we can grow our own herbs in the backyard, but we don't need to make food and tend the land and make our own clothing to be able to survive. We now have groups in society that have done this for us. Now, throughout these different ages, and as we've moved through history, the industrial revolutions have changed the way in which we've fundamentally worked. So in the very first industrial revolution, and I've got, these are kind of like average-ish years. Some people argue that it's, a year or two. So these are just ballpark figures. But this very first industrial revolution is where we really signified the shift from individually working with our hands to working with machines and working in factories. So with its revolution, we had new manufacturing processes. We also saw the change of where things came from around the world. So different continents started producing different things that were very easy to produce in that particular continent. We had new manufacturing, we had the rise of the steam engine, we used a lot of water power and things like that as well. The next industrial revolution, big technology changes. We now have new forms of energy. So electricity, gas, coal. This really changed the way we did a lot of our work. We now have the creation of the combustion engine during this age, and we also have the demand for new things coming within industry, and this is when we start seeing things like the telegraph become invented. Now, this revolution finished around World War I, and towards the end of this revolution, we started manufacturing cars and planes as well. Then we move into the third industrial revolution. Now, this revolution came from the idea that we had electricity, and we're now seeing computers. We're seeing telecommunications. We're seeing all these different things that have come about from the types of technology we've produced. We're seeing our jobs change as well. Now, the reason I've got a dash there, 1970 to dash, is because some people believe that we are still in this third industrial revolution. But I would argue that we're currently in the fourth industrial revolution. And the reason I'd argue this is because, yes, we've gone from one to the other. Electricity helped us produce computers. Computers helped us get to today. But I think there's been a very distinct shift in the way that we work and the way that we produce things and our industries. I think it warrants its own revolution. So this revolution is really signified by the rise of the internet. Now, 2001, for those history buffs in the room, the internet was not discovered and produced in 2001. It was many decades earlier. But it was in 2001 that we're really seeing the internet be used everywhere. Now everyone has a website. Now we have things like the Internet of Things. We have the metaverse. We have augmented reality. We have virtual reality. And we're now seeing the rise of AI in this industrial revolution. And throughout every single revolution, people have been worried about their jobs. People have been worried about, well, you know, we're not doing things by hand anymore, so we've now got these machines. Am I going to lose my job? So let's come back to this fundamental question of why do we actually work? Now again, back in the beginning, we needed to work to get the food. Now we have groups in society working to make food, and we now need a transaction or way to get that thing that we need. So now most of us work for money. If I said to you hopefully you all like your jobs, but one of the fundamental reasons we work is to get money so we can buy things we need to survive and live. So that's very, very key to why people want to work. The next one is for social and interactions and teamwork. We know that as humans, we are social beings. If we don't have this type of connectedness, we lose a lot of our identity as people. So a lot of people work for the social and the teamwork interactions. A lot of people just work out of habit. Ask some people who don't want to retire, oh yeah, I'm still just working, what else am I going to do? I just work because it's what I like doing, and I've just done it for pretty much for most of your life. So a lot of people work out of habit. A lot of people work because they enjoy the creativity and the learning from it. Professional development, there's opportunities to learn new things and new skills, and people like that. Some people work for this idea of stability and independence. If we're working, particularly if we're in jobs where we're given a lot of autonomy, we have a sense of responsibility, and we have this idea of that we're in charge of something. And so we enjoy that feeling, and people like working for that. I think it really comes down to this idea of being fulfilled as people and having a purpose. So if I said to you all right now in the rooms, you've all lost your job to AI. No one has a job anymore. Yeah, some of you will go, woohoo! No more working, no more jobs. And then after the woohoo, or maybe some people, depending on where you sit with your thought pattern, some of you start going, well, hang on, how am I going to get money? Well, I could probably solve the money issue through universal basic income or some other construct like that. We can get social interactions from outside our work. Many of us probably already do through shared interests, hobbies, sports, things like that. Habits are hard to break. Talk to anyone who's hitting their retirement age. They found it a difficult transition, but we could get there. We can learn and be creative outside our work, but I think the last two, particularly this idea of purpose, that's going to be a hard one. Okay, I'm no longer working. I'm no longer contributing to society. What do I do now? What is my purpose? Now, we know throughout history that hasn't happened. We've just changed the way we've done things. So, example, we used to do everything in a factory by hand, and then we're still in a factory. We just do different things. Now we're looking after the machines. Now we're directing things. Now we're working with other people and managing things. We used to do things, any mathematicians in the room? A couple. We used to do mathematics, long form, by hand, on a chalkboard, on paper. Does everyone still remember what paper is? That stuff. And then we brought in calculators. People thought, we're not going to have any more accountants anymore. Who still has an accountant? Like, they're still around. So these things have happened and our jobs have changed. We go to a library and we used to browse for information, browse for books. Librarians would catalogue information. Now we just browse online and people catalogue, data scientists catalogue information. So if all this has happened over the years and I've convinced you all that, okay, there's probably going to be a job and we have changed jobs every time there has been a revolution, why is everyone so worried this time? What is different about this revolution compared to what we've seen through history? And I think it boils down to this idea of artificial intelligence. Now, the first thing I'll say about AI is, this is from the movie Ultron, but AI is actually not really that new. The groundwork for AI started back in the 1900s. And it was this guy here, Benedict Cumberbatch? Nah, not Benedict Cumberbatch. Alan Turing, the character Benedict Cumberbatch plays in The Imitation Game. So in 1950, he released a paper called Computer Machinery and Intelligence, and it was designed to test the intelligence of machines. In 1952, a computer scientist created a computer that could play chess against a person. And in 1955, we have another computer scientist and a cognitive scientist who held a summit in Dartmouth on the idea of artificial intelligence. And that's the very first use of the word, and it's been used right up until today. Fast forward to now, and AI is pretty much everywhere. You probably can't go out for dinner now without hearing the word AI. So artificial intelligence is everywhere. What actually is it? According to IBM, it is something that leverages computers and machines to mimic the problem-solving and decision-making capabilities of people. Hang on, problem-solving and decision-making capabilities of people? That is why people are worried. People are worried because now computers aren't just helping us do work. Now they're doing the things that were typically designed for people. We thought that the problem-solving and the creativity were things that we could only do. So now, not only is it trying to mimic what we can do in our jobs, in a lot of cases it's doing our jobs better than we can. And some examples of that are AI can process data much faster than we can. It can find patterns much faster than we can. AI is available 24/7. I need to sleep. Probably you all do in the room too. AI is able to, if we infuse it with robotics, it's able to do tasks that are deemed too dangerous for people. Looking at disaster zones, going into places where it's dangerous for people and operating in extreme environments. So computers are now doing the things that we thought that should be something people can do. So what's it actually going to look like? I'm a bit of a movie buff, so there's going to be some spoilers. So block your ears if you haven't seen some of these movies. So what's this future going to look like? Now, one possibility is WALL-E. Everyone love WALL-E? Too bad if you haven't seen it, I'm about to spoil the entire plot. So in WALL-E, all the humans go on a ship. They go out into space for 5 years, and during those 5 years, the robot's supposed to clean up the planet for them. So 5 years turns into 500 years, and we're now seeing all the people, instead of being in the ship and partying and having a good time together, they're now completely reliant on robots to do everything for them, even telling them what colour to wear and what to eat that day. Now, it turns out the robots are actively trying to keep people away from the planet. Now, while it's a bit of a cynical viewpoint, the robots actually aren't trying to kill us in this situation. They're just kind of trying to rule us and control us. The Terminator. Now, this is definitely the cynical viewpoint. This is the doom and gloom. So Terminator 1 or 2 or 3, or how many of them are there now? This is the one where robots are actively trying to kill people, and they have gotten so smart that they are now able to find and kill the people they want. Blade Runner. Now, Harrison Ford isn't a robot, but in this movie, they have humanoid replicants, which are things that look like people, but they're actually robots. And I think this movie is really key to showing us how there's a whole lot of concerns around ethics, human connectedness, control. What does it mean to be a person? So it starts to play on the ethical side. I think Star Wars kind of does it really well. I think this is where we're kind of sitting in this kind of era. So in Star Wars, while we don't necessarily have R2-D2s everywhere, in Star Wars, robots are programmed to do a particular job. They're designed to be helpful to us as people or as humanoids, because there's so many non-people, non-humans in Star Wars. And people say, oh, but they could be good or bad. They're only good or bad based on which side they're kind of working for, whether you're a galactic empire or the Republic. And I think Star Wars takes this even further in The Mandalorian. Again, another spoiler. So season 3, episode 6 of The Mandalorian, Din Djarin and Bo-Katan go to this planet, and Jack Black and all the other kind of people there, they're all just partying. People don't work on this planet. They just have a good time. They sit around and party, and it's all good. And the robots are the ones that go to work. So they've gotten all the robots from the Empire and reprogrammed to do all the work. And in this particular episode, they're investigating a droid mystery where one of the robots has gone a bit rogue, and so they're trying to figure out why, because all the other robots in this episode are worried that because of this one droid going rogue, they're all going to lose their jobs and not be able to work. That sounds really familiar, doesn't it, right? So it's kind of flipped here. But what are we actually in today? Like, I've kind of given you some ideas from fiction about what it might be like, but what are we actually experiencing today? Some of you might have been to a cafe where you've been served by a robot waiter. Has anyone been to a cafe served by a robot waiter? Yeah, quite a few of you, right? So we have these. Now, this video was posted only 2 months ago. This is a restaurant in China. No people work in this restaurant. It's completely fully automated. So robots make all the food, serve all the food, and you can go there and get completely served by a robot that has also made all the food, which, again, where are all the people in this one? Boston Dynamics, this is highly sophisticated. So again, not commercially available, but this just kind of shows you where we're at today. So a humanoid-looking robot is able to do a lot of the jobs that people are doing. So it can use computer vision to detect everything that's happening around it and go and put the parts in where the machine cover should be. Now, typically this would have been done by people, so it's just showing you the capabilities where we're at right now. Moving away from the robot side of things, the physical robots, who's tried ChatGPT in the room? Pretty much everyone. Cool, so you've all tried ChatGPT, really good at writing prose there. Has anyone tried Microsoft Copilot 365? Yeah, really good for doing things like catching up on meetings and building a presentation. I did not use Copilot for this presentation, all my own work. But really good for being able to increase your productivity here. Has anyone tried Microsoft Designer or Bing Create or Midjourney or any of the image? Yeah, a few people tried some of these out. These are really fun. So you can go in there and pop in your prompt and then go and generate a really fun looking image, and it'll give you, I figured out it's really good at reproducing Pikachu. I think there's so many data points on Pikachu. The Eevee was a bit, but the Pikachu, spot on. Again, not quite commercially available, but showing you the capabilities of where we're at. Probably not commercially available because of the sheer compute power that we need, but being able to generate complete videos. So this is Sora. You can go on this is on the website. You can go on there and have a look at a few different things. Has anyone tried some of the AI-generated coding tools? So GitHub Copilot. Yep, so this is what GitHub Copilot looks like now. You go into your pane, type in something, I want a new website to do, a portfolio, I want an about me section, I want a few things here. And it gives you your entire project structure with all the files that you need. And you go, cool, let's just open this, and yeah, sweet, it's all there. So that's pretty cool. Coding in the terminal, Ada as well. We've got, for those people who are using Atlassian tools, there's AI for Jira and Confluence and everything to check out all your tickets. And if some of you are sitting in the audience there going, oh look, there's some things that I do that they probably won't have an AI for, will they? Go and have a look. There's a website called There's an AI for that. So you can jump on here, type in something. So currently, when I record this, there are 24,032 AIs for 15,718 tasks and nearly 5,000 jobs. So there's lots of different things there, interesting websites. So you can go and see like what's new as well, like what's new and upcoming, and also like whether your job's going to be impacted because of the tools. So that's quite interesting there. Now, there's so much out there, and the productivity gains of a lot of these are just completely undeniable. So GitHub released a research study recently saying that those using GitHub Copilot to help them code are just so much faster, more productive, and the quality is a lot higher. We're seeing users of AI tools as well put out research and papers on the type of productivity that they're seeing. Another one, interesting one, how do you feel about this? So we've got the pragmatic engineer here, did a bit of a study on ChatGPT and GitHub Copilot. Do you feel it makes you more efficient? People, oh, I feel better about this. That's interesting. We'll come back to this one, but I really like this about the different time spent using AI coding or using AI tools. So this idea that drafting a text using AI is a lot quicker and more condensed, but actually the editing process takes longer. So we'll come back to this one in a minute. And Microsoft, again, put out some research too. Atlassian put out some research. So using AI tools, if you're using them correctly, double the ROI, saving 105 minutes every day if we're using AI tools. Harvard did a study with some staff members, said go and use ChatGPT for this task. They did it more faster and better quality results as well. And it's not just individuals and individual companies who are seeing these types of productivity gains as well. It's a whole society. So McKinsey said that by using Gen AI tools, we could add the equivalent of $2.6 to $4.4 trillion to the global domestic product, which is pretty high. And then PwC said that if we do this, we could probably add 16 trillion to the world economy by 2030. Now, a lot of these stats that I'm giving you, some of them you might think, okay, maybe they're a bit fluffy. How I feel about something. I felt more productive. It was better. But regardless of whether it's 80% productivity or 40% productivity or 20% productivity, the reality is that the productivity gains are there, and it's undeniable. So if we're using all these AI tools, they're helping us do all those mundane, repetitive tasks. So we have more time as humans to do the more fun human things, social connectedness, some problem solving. For developers, that's more time working on the fun stuff, more time solving the problem rather than figuring out how to fix a bug in the code. For doctors, that's more time spent with patients rather than trying to triage and do paperwork. So there's all these different types of things and gains that we're going to get out of AI. But as I mentioned, some people are worried. And those fears and concerns are absolutely valid. So I've compiled a list of what I think some of these fears and concerns are. Now, the first one is job loss and displacement, which we've kind of already talked about a little bit. Now, that has happened throughout history. So why are people so worried? We've got all this history and information's at our fingertips all the time. So we know that there's always been new jobs. So why are we so worried this time? Well, people are worried that's happening so quickly that we're not going to be able to upskill quick enough, or that the jobs aren't going to be produced quick enough for us to go into them. So that's why people are a bit worried this time. So those lack of new opportunities being available for us. People worry about the loss of human connection. How many times have you called up a company hoping to speak to a human and you've got a chatbot? So people are worried that with more of these AI chatbots, we're losing this idea of human connectedness and empathy. A robot's not going to understand my situation, be able to help me out. We've also got this idea of ethics and fairness. So if we're using all these AI tools and bots are using information, how does that affect the type of information that we're actually getting? Are AI tools treating us fairly as people? So a lot of people now, they're putting their resumes into new jobs and they're being completely filtered out by the AI because they've formatted their resume to look nice and stand out and be unique. That doesn't matter anymore to an AI. They just want to see the skills. People going for different types of jobs as well might favour men in tech because there's more men in tech, so therefore men are probably better than women because there's more. No, right? It's just the way the data is being presented. So there are all these fears. And again, people are worried that they're not going to be able to have the opportunities, the money, and the time to be able to upskill quickly. And we know that they're going to lose jobs And even if they stay in the same job, they might just get their wages cut as well. Now, to me, this is a little bit logical, the fact that skills have changed like over the time. Like, who can expect to stay in a job for 10 years and do the same thing? Probably not, right? But this idea of we need to do this so rapidly and across everyone, how are we going to be able to do that? And so back to McKinsey and Company, they've said that 12 million occupational transitions will be needed by 2030. So we do need to upskill. That is very, very important. You're all here today, which is great. So, is a robot going to take your job in the room? All right, pull out your phones, everyone, because I know you have a phone, right? No one doesn't have left their phone at home. So this website, will robots take my job? The QR code there, and I'll flick to the next slide. There'll be another QR code there as well. Hopefully, where's the QR code? There we go. So QR code there. So you pop in your job. So in this case, we'll go developer, and we can see that web developers are actually at high risk of losing jobs. Ooh, why? So if we scroll down, so put in your job, see if you're going to be safe or not, what risk kind of category you're at, and it kind of gives you some ideas of like how much your job could potentially be automated. So the calculated automated risk there. And what I think is interesting to look at is some important qualities of the job that are difficult to automate. So bookmark that in your head. We're going to come back to that one. Another quick example, if you put in, say, data scientists, we can go there, click in data scientist, and we can see this job is actually at low risk. Okay, how is that different to web developers? Now we can go scroll down, have a look, and we'll see when we have a look at the important qualities, there's now originality and social perceptiveness. So how do we address some of these concerns that we've all got, fears? So is everyone in the room safe? We all going to lose our jobs, or we're not sure yet? All right, so how are we going to address these concerns? So I put together a list based on some of those things that were coming up, those important qualities as this website calls it, so I'm going to leave it there. So first one's persuasion negotiation. We need good persuasion negotiation skills because we need to bring people along the ride with us. Whether we're a manager or we're just leading a team or a project, we need to be able to have good persuasion skills to be able to bring people along the ride and work towards a shared goal. Decision-making and ethics. Now, I don't care what people say to you, an AI that's going to produce the code for you and do the thing, that stuff shouldn't just get shipped out and people, oh, sorry, an AI did that. That's why there's bugs in the code. You can't blame the AI. You are responsible for the code or the work, whatever it is you ship at the end of the day, whether you use an AI-generated tool or not. So that decision-making is very important, and this idea of ethics. Critically thinking about the thing that we're using and things we are producing. Adaptability. How quickly can we adapt to changing situations? This one's really important. We're going to come back to that in a second. This idea of empathy and emotional intelligence. Understanding how we react to situations as people and how others react too is very important because that'll help boost our teamwork, our skills, our communication, those types of things. Collaboration. Collaboration skills are really important. Now, you're probably all sitting there going, yeah, collaboration with people, yeah, I do that. Also collaboration with AI. So collaboration on both sides of the spectrum. How well can you collaborate with others, whether it's a tool or other people? And the ability to learn. We've already said so many times before in this presentation that new jobs are going to change, they're going to happen quickly, and you're going to need new skills. So do you have the ability to actually learn new skills and upskill? And then finally, creativity and innovation. Now that's really important because no matter what you ask an AI, it can't generate something completely new and innovative. An AI can only do and work within the parameters it's given and the data it is given. It can't actually create something that's completely new. And I think all those things comes down to this idea of resilience. I think this is the most important thing. So resilience is something happens, you've got no control over it, and now you have to make do out of the situation you've got. So this idea of being adaptable and having resilience to the things that are happening is going to be one of the most important skills you can all have. And I think it's more of a fact that we shouldn't think about this idea of robots are going to take our jobs. Instead, we should think about it, okay, people using AI are probably going to take our jobs. And that's because the productivity gains are fairly undeniable. Now, even if Gen AI goes away, say for example Gen AI goes away because we don't have the electricity or compute power, whatever it happens to be, that still stands because it's important to understand that resilience in the face of change is something we all need. And that people who are resilient and can use the new tools available to them are going to win over the people who can't use the new tools that are available to them. So, what's the first thing we need to do to be resilient and ensure that we are the ones that have that job when other people are working with AI? Well, the first thing to do is actually use AI. Now, most of you put your hands up, so you're already doing this, which is good. So I'll give you a couple other tips then. Now, most of these are free or got a free trial or something or free tier, so do go and use it if you haven't tried them out. The next important thing to know is it's changing so quickly. Not just the tools available, like for example, Amazon just announced their new AWS Nova last week, but the capabilities of each tool is changing so quickly. So you need to be up to date with what's happening. So following like news and forums and things like that to just stay up to date with what the latest changes are and how the AI is actually changing. The next thing we can do too is have our critical thinking caps on when we're using AI. So what does this AI do? What is its limitations? And how can I best use it? Now, most of these I'm showing you here are Gen AI, so we need to actually give these things a prompt to be able to get some information back. So that's called prompt engineering, which is this idea of giving instructions to something and getting a response back. So I'll give you some tips on how to do some good prompt engineering. So the first one, don't copy and paste. Please, I was on an agenda committee last week or a week before and we just went, yeah, that's ChatGPT, Jenna, that is, and we just went cross, 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 cross. They all sound the same, right? So don't just copy and paste stuff. Take what you've been given from the AI and make it your own. Put your own spin on it. Make it your own personality, right? Otherwise, we'll all end up with the same stuff, which is not fun. The next thing, be clear and specific. Some people go, what? I'm like, that is nothing new. If I have a teammate and I give them an instruction, if I'm very vague about what I'm giving them, probably going to get something very vague back, right? Whereas if I'm very clear about what I ask of the teammate, this is what I want you to do, here's the deliverables, I'm going to get what I want back, right? Well, probably better than if I give very vague instructions. So be clear, be specific, don't use jargon, don't use all this big hoo-ha technical words, just be very clear and specific about what you want. The next thing, talk like a conversation. And yes, that means saying please and thank you. No, it's not to stop the robo-apocalypse. It's literally because AI has been trained on human conversation. So if you say please, it thinks you're being nice, so it's going to give you helpful results, and it helps get better results back. Next, give examples and direction. Because if we don't give good examples and good direction, then we're probably going to spend more time actually editing the thing than what we would have if we had just created it in the first place by ourselves, right? Whether that's developing code or writing an article. Next, use correct spelling, grammar, and punctuation. Like, it can pick up things, but, defiantly and definitely can change what you're asking very quickly. And you can get things wrong, right? If you're using the wrong grammar and punctuation, you end up with 6 cartons of milk and no avocados, so that's not fun. And finally, check, check, check. Please check the results that AI is giving you. So AI is one of those things that it will never say, I don't know, because AI can't not know. It'll produce something that sounds very convincing. Now there's sources, so we can actually go and check. Now, if we go and have a look at this one, I can go, oh, okay, it said, no, there's actually a website called Duke Jet Services, but it is not known as Duke Airlines. It's something different, right? So it won't just say, I don't know. It'll give you something, right? So check what you're getting. The next thing, if you're developing with AI, go and use some AI. There's heaps of things out there. And again, put your critical thinking caps on when doing this. Because if you're developing AI models, you want to ensure that you're doing so in a responsible manner. So if you're developing AI, you need to think about ethics, data, and privacy. So we can do that. When we need to do that, we need to think of 3 important things. So the very first thing is prioritize privacy, then reduce the bias in the model, and promote transparency. So you can do that by asking, what type of data are we handling? You can do an audit to find out what type of data are you handling. How are we handling this sensitive data? You might need to do some training with employees on how to actually store, handle, and serve up this type of sensitive data. How are we dealing with bias in our model? What is the type of bias we've got and how are we dealing with that? And where did it actually come from? Is this data representative of the users that we have and the users that we're working in? And is our data set diverse? Or are we just kind of in an echo chamber here where we're just giving the same information? And how do we collect that data? Because the form and the manner in which we collect it can lead to bias as well. And then are we being transparent about the type of data? Now, in the last few minutes, let's come back to these soft skills that we put up. So I've changed the title there. Now it's a soft skills. Before it was, well, useful qualities or important qualities from the website. So these soft skills. How do we get these types of soft skills? Or how do we cultivate them? How do we practice them? Now, if any of you have checked out my LinkedIn or any other socials, you'll know that I'm also called the Hackathon Queen. So I love hackathons. Anyone been to a hackathon? Yeah, quite a few. Great. Hackathons are a fantastic way of cultivating and practicing these soft skills. So things like communication, teamwork, because you're nearly always working with a team. Adaptability. How many times have you been to a hackathon where you're like, oh, that team over there is working on the same problem and just produced the same thing that we got, so we probably need to change what we're doing, right? Or if you're in startups, pivot. You want to know the word pivot? So adaptability, really important one. And all this idea of creativity and problem solving is the whole idea of a hackathon. So leading on to that, teamwork. Are you doing good teamwork within your organization, within your company, within your team? Now, some people say, well, maybe I don't have a good team to work with. Well, maybe this is a chance to create a new team too. If you're introducing AI into your workplace, maybe you should think of an AI ethics committee or an AI steering committee. There's all different ways we can use teamwork. Now, teamwork has all these ideas of emotional intelligence as well. How do we work with others? How do we deal with conflict? All those types of things. Now, this next one, a little bit out there, and not everyone can do it. So if you can't do this, find something that does something similar, and I'll show you what I mean in a minute. And that's hiking. Now, the reason I love hiking is because it's probably one of the most resilient things you can actually do. So if you can't go hiking for whatever reason, find something else that gets you out of your comfort zone and gets you doing something different. Now, has anyone done hiking here, whether it's a day hike or, yeah, stuff happens and goes wrong. You can't do anything about it. You've just got to make the most of it. Whether, the weather turns, you take a wrong turn, someone breaks their ankle. Like, there's so many things that can go wrong in hiking. So I think it's one of the most resilient activities you can do. Plus, it's fun if you go with a group of people. But one of the other reasons I really love hiking is because it's like real life, like actually like real life. So some people go hiking for these wonderful, fantastic views, and we went on this hike recently, and in January this year, and we got told, yes, you're going to get up there, you're going to see the most amazing views, 360 degrees, you'll be able to see 140 kilometres out to the other side of New Zealand and see the line of volcanoes on the other side. It's going to be amazing. So I walked up there. This is up Mount Taranaki. The summit's like this, like literally 45 degrees, rock. It's probably one of the most grueling things I've done. And I got up there, saw nothing. It was a complete whiteout. And I'm looking over the edge going, that was fun, wasn't it? Right? So sometimes, just like life, you do all the work, you put in all the effort, and sometimes you just don't get the rewards. And that's life. You just have to deal with it. No, sometimes you do. Like sometimes you get these lovely, amazing views. Probably the more you do it, the more views you get, right? The next one, some of you will love this, video games. Anyone like playing video games? Now, obviously, it depends on the type of game that you're playing, but there's a lot of games out there who encourage you to use communication skills, so massively multiplayer online. You've got to have good teamwork. You've got to do your job. You've got to play your role. You've got to have problem solving and decision-making skills. You need to have a little bit of adaptability. If the quest line changes or something happens you didn't, think about, DDoS or your internet goes down, because that never happens in Australia. Also similar sports as well. Has the added benefit of being active, but sports really good for teamwork, adaptability, quick thinking on the spot. Again, emotional intelligence didn't get picked this week, but it's okay for the greater good of the team, that kind of thing. You're working towards a team goal, even though you have your own individual goals. The next one, doing something creative and physical with your hands. It isn't these things typing on the keyboard, right? So whether that could be Lego, it could be sewing, gardening, woodworking, make jewelry, something that gets you off the computer, physically working with your hands. This improves your neural plasticity and kind of gets those like brain juices flowing, that creativity, right? And it also helps with mental fortitude. So people who do these kind of things usually keep their minds a bit longer too. Plus it's fun. Who doesn't like playing with Lego, right? And finally, always be learning. We said before, one of the fears and concerns about this whole thing happening is things are happening so quickly and people worried about upskilling. Always be learning. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money either. I'll put a link up to Repo where there's all these free learning resources, all different types of things. So always be learning. Take the opportunity to learn from others around you, whether it's your teammates, your workmates, people play sport with, whatever it happens to be. Take the opportunities to learn. Now, I'm also preaching to the converted a little bit here because you've all taken the opportunity to learn. You're all here today. You're doing things like this. So continue to take those opportunities as well. So, to summarise from the talk, what are you going to do after this? You're going to leave the room and hopefully everyone's going to be like, yes, I feel good about having a job now. So acknowledge that the fears and concerns that either you or maybe your colleagues or friends and family, acknowledge that those fears and concerns are absolutely there and valid. So that's the first thing. Use AI. Go and use it. Whether you're a developer, a writer, a worker, go and use it and understand how you can apply some of the things that AI can do into your work to help improve your productivity. And again, while you're using these things, have your critical thinking caps on so that we can have this idea of responsible AI practice. So critical thinking caps on in terms of, is it giving me what I want? Am I checking the information? But also, where is this information coming from? What types of data and bias could potentially be in there? And if we're developing with AI, absolutely having these things of responsible AI practice. Where are we getting our data from? Are we just doing the echo chamber? Let's think about those types of things. Go to some hackathons or run a hackathon if you've got a company. There's such fun ways to try out all these creative skills and do all these types of skills that I've given you today. Plus they're lots of fun and you probably learn something from them as well. Practice teamwork everywhere you go. Teamwork also includes collaboration with things like AI too, right? So practice that. Do things that are uncomfortable, whether it's hiking or something else, situations where you're in that you have to not necessarily have control or complete control over the situation. Always remember that we often can't control the situation, but we can control the way we react to that situation. Practice good communication, collaboration, emotional intelligence through things like video games, sports, hobbies. Also, hobbies helps you practice that kind of creativity and that innovation as well and get your critical thinking caps on. And finally, always be learning, always upskill, and I'll have these links here in the resources. So if you're thinking or worried about the cost of upskilling, there's so many free resources out there for you to go check. So that's the resources from the talk, all the stuff that I put in the talk, so you know that I'm not making up numbers. And also links to where you can learn for free, links to all those AI tools. So if you miss taking a photo of all the different AI tools, I've put them in here as well, links directly to them, and particularly the developer ones as well. So all of those developer ones I showed you are open source, so you can go check those out. So we don't have time to answer questions right this second, but I am hanging around for a little bit, so you can either come up to me while I'm packing things away, or I'll be around for lunch for a little bit before I jet back to Melbourne for our first wedding anniversary, so I hope the plane lands on time. So come chat to me afterwards, and if you do miss chatting to me, just drop me a line on any of the kind of social medias and ask your questions. So thank you everyone for being here today, and thank you to the YOW conference for having me as well.